Hey everybody, welcome back to another Relationship Wednesday. And we're talking about heart management. And so we're really dealing with unforgiveness, and because we know that in relationships, forgiveness is going to be a major key in seeing, things move in our lives. So if we really want to see God move and God do great things, then we're going to have to be able to understand that we got to learn how to deal with unforgiveness and learn how to forgive in order to be able to manage and navigate our purpose and all those type of things. Because one thing that unforgiveness do, it will derail us from our purpose. Because if we live long enough, we're all going to feel slighted, feel hurt, betrayed, whatever it may be, from things of unforgiveness. But one thing I do, like we were talking about last couple of weeks, I had a conversation with my wife where we were talking about how to actually, handle or manage unforgiveness. Because, some practical things how to navigate. But now we come to the foundation of how come people can't even forgive. Because one thing we realize is that it takes trust in God to forgive. It takes trust in God. So if you can't trust God, and so let me give you an example of what I'm saying. When we'll say things like, all things work together for your good. So that means I have to trust that even in this betrayal, it's going to work out for my good. And where, what that person may have set me back, but I have to understand that God's still going to use that person's setback to still set me up to where, in other words, I'm no longer becoming a victim to what was happening to me. I now became a champion to what's happening to me. So where now I realize that, yes, even champions get tagged, but I'm going to still find a way where God's going to still find a way where I can still overcome from that. So the thing that we want to talk about, bro, my guy Mike back into the fold here to help us and talk about, what is, I guess how I put it, why do we get mad at God? And the reason why we want to talk about that is because if I need God to help me to forgive, I can't be mad at the one who I need to help me through my life situations. So we really want to just go through and just really talk through sometimes how come we hold God accountable when we get mad at God, and hopefully through this discussion that we had today, it may give you a perspective on where you can trust God more, and where you know that even though you may be going through some hard things, that God is for you and He can work it out. Yeah. So welcome back, Mike.
Well, glad to be here.
Yes, sir. So we're going to, go ahead and get started, and open up with the first question of what's your thoughts again? Just thinking about being mad at God, just to just get us going in the session.
All right. Before we go there, I wanted to kind of talk about what you said, or just a different perspective of it. When even let's take the forgiveness out real quick, but if I think God is the reason that I'm going through whatever I'm going through, then it's also very hard for me to trust Him that to get me out of it, or to be with me as I go through. Because I believe you taught me this. The theology that we have of God is off. So God gives His battles, His toughest battles, to His toughest soldiers. Mm-hmm. So if I feel as though God gave me this cancer because I'm one of His tough soldiers, then when life really gets tough and I feel like, I don't even know if I can get up out of here no more, how can I trust in a God who put me in a situation in the first place? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So wanted to jump on that. Something else you said, I should have wrote it down. But to answer your question, being mad at God, I have full 100% experience, because I was pissed because I thought that, I did everything right. Not even saying that He did it, but it was more so like, how could you let this happen? Right? Yeah. And so I'm 24 years old. I'm in college. I said, all right, cool. The whole religious thing. I ain't going to smoke. I ain't going to drink. I ain't going to have sex. I ain't going to do none of that. I just want to go to the NFL. So it was all performance based. I'm going to do all these things so I can get what I've been praying for. And then you get the diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. Now it's like, but God, I prayed, You know what I'm saying? I've been nice to people. I've been forgiving people. I've been doing all these things that good believers or Christians, because that was a religious mindset, that good Christians should do, and then I still get the short end of the stick. But this person is doing the drugs, the smoking, the sleeping, the fighting, the killing, whatever, and they swimming in money. Not saying that they're peaceful, or what I'm saying. Yeah. But it was just more so. Yeah, I was just so
seeing their lifestyle, and you're like, I'm trying to live a holy lifestyle, right. And you're saying they not really kind of living that. We're not saying we're not judging if they have a relationship with God or not. We're just saying I'm just looking at the lifestyle.
And I'm trying to live. Right, but not be. You know what I'm saying? So all these things that I'm trying to do to get is the reason that I'm upset, because I feel like I've worked hard enough for you to bless me. I worked hard enough not to be in this situation. So when life hits us, even the Lord give and the Lord take it away. Now I'm mad at God because He took away my loved one. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think it starts like with the theology, with the foundation of how you see God. So if I know that He'll never do anything that can harm me. So He said, the plans I have for you is to prosper you and not harm you. If I know that to be true, then now I can't be mad at God for something that goes wrong, because I know it ain't even coming from Him. You know what I'm
saying? So let's back up and, dive through this, because I feel like, and this is where we want to create a platform we can have these discussions, because I just think that we don't take time and have discussion. Because my question is, when as a teacher of the Word, and you're making a case sometimes for the Word of God, even though truth never needs a defense. Yeah. But to try to help people understand certain things, we like, where did this theology come from? Like, where did I even start believing something like that in the first place? Where I even came to understand it, because usually with a lot of these things, it's not like somebody sat me down and said, think about God like this per se. Sometimes it's just in the way things said. And here's where I feel like one of the reasons, I'm sure there's many, but I'm gonna use one of the reasons. I think that when we don't understand why bad things happen to good people, and we try to fill in the blanks.
That's good. Yep.
And a lot of times we have preachers who've done it at funerals.
Yep.
And I think sometimes we
may not make it feel better.
Yes, and sometimes because we don't know. So let's go ahead and make up an excuse and blame God, which is more detrimental in life than it is, because in that way. I'm just saying one of the reasons. Because I just think that,
and taking that because it's in the Bible, but if I take it out of context, now everybody sees it as how I perceive it is, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to diving deep and really understanding what was being said, which is you do a great job. I need to do more, but I take your word for it.
No, sorry, no, but again, I've been tagged, so I would never want to try to lead somebody astray or whatever.
Yeah.
And my goal is to, where I want us to, it says the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Right? So the kingdom of God is righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost. So let's break that down, what that means. So righteousness means identity. Joy means my purpose and my vision. Peace represents my sense of happiness on the inside. So Satan's coming to kill, steal, and destroy. He's coming to steal my identity, my value system. He's coming to steal my hope, and he's going to come to try to make me bitter.
Right.
So I realized that. So God is saying, I come to here, my life have more abundantly. So in other words, if whatever I'm believing about God is leading me to a place of bitterness, I start there to say, God, something has to be off from what I believe, because God said He would never have me believe something where He would be in charge of my pain. And I think that's one reason why I think that what happens to us is that we feel like you just making the point, how can I really trust a God who actually orchestrated my pain?
Yep.
And then we come up with these cliche sayings, I think, to try to justify what we don't know. And I think it's a nasty handbasket. But let's go back to that main thing, right? So I say, let's take a kid. Let's say you see a kid going to school, get good grades, taking care of the family, responsible, doing what they're supposed to do. and then all of a sudden they die in a drive-by or die in a car crash or something crazy.
Yeah.
So then what do preachers normally say? The Lord called them home.
God don't make no mistakes.
God don't make no mistakes.
Yeah.
Right, so all of these philosophies going out. Why? To justify something that don't make sense. In other words, how can this bad thing happen to this person who was doing such good things?
Right.
Yeah, but we don't know what spiritual doors are open. We don't know what was being said behind the scene. A lot of times we don't understand certain things. I give you a story about a guy who, and we're talking about spiritual things. So a guy, he was like maybe in the 70s or something like that. And he had diagnosed with sickness. He was getting better, but he was ready to go on to heaven.
Right.
So around his family, he would act like he was praising God and believing, and he would say the right things. But he wrote in his journal that I'm ready to go, and I'm just doing this just to appease my family because I don't want to let them down or get them upset.
Yeah.
And so what happened was the wife didn't understand. Like for a period of time, he was getting better, but then out of nowhere, he just took a left turn and just died suddenly. So, but it wasn't until she read the journal that it became clear.
Right.
So my point is that she saw one thing, it didn't make sense, but not understanding there were some other spiritual things at work that we're not aware of.
And these are laws. When you operate with the law has to come to pass. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and sometimes there's grace to undo it.
Okay.
But yeah, so for example, if you jump off a building, even if you, let's say somebody pushes you off or you jump off, whether you meant it or didn't mean it.
Exactly.
Gravity don't say. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's like the heart. Like we talk about, the heart don't know if you playing or not. Yeah. So if you say it, the heart has to take it, right? The heart has to start creating that picture. Like you say something long enough, then that's who you start to believe you are on the inside, and then your life produces that.
Yeah, so I'm not saying every case, but sometimes there has been parents who put death sentence on their children in fear. Yeah. Meaning violating spiritual laws in the name of protection, but because people are not being taught these things. Right. So we're cooperating with practical laws, but we're violating spiritual laws while we're trying to cooperate with practical laws.
Because the parents are still the covering, right?
Yes. So for example, this one guy did tell you exactly what happened. This one guy talked to the child and said, "You better not run out in the street. You see this dog on the line on the side of the road? You be just like this dog if you run out in the street." And you know his child got hit by a car.
In the name of trying to strike fear so you don't do something. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Right. This some heavy stuff.
And that's why I tell folks, like, even as little as like, don't jump on that couch, you'll fall off and bust your head. And then, like, people, like, I hear that, and if I hear it around my kids, like, nope, that ain't what we doing. Just don't jump on the couch because I said so. Right, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't jump on the couch. Like, there doesn't have to be a negative consequence to every action because you put those things out in the atmosphere. And not only that, and this is how we start building the fear in the child, because I'm so free to be who God called me to be. I'm fearless, but then you telling me, no, don't do this because this might happen. Then I grow up thinking, no, I shouldn't do this because this might happen. You know what I'm saying? So for mine, I'm very intentional, and I'm not perfect with it, but I'm very intentional about telling them, like, not saying no or don't do this because, but just giving them reasons on why I want them to do something.
Well, yeah, we're being mindful of how we're saying things, not what we're saying. Right, so we can say the same thing, but we can communicate in a way that produces life and not death. Then that's, you know, and that's what I mean. Sometimes because we don't always know the spiritual doors that are open, so I think a lot of times those preachers don't even know. So we go and lie on God in funerals.
Listen. And nowadays, I be pissed. Like, the funeral be going on, and I be cool. And then as soon as I hear it, and I'm like, you messing up, like, his name. Because so many people are trusting you right now, especially while I'm hurting. So now I got to take what you said to deal with the pain and then I'm gonna keep this forever. You know what I'm saying? Like God needed him. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
and then now I'm teaching that to the people underneath me. So every time I hear the preachers like he was good until, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like I gotta stand up and say something.
Cause I feel like, cause to me, this is, and it's kind of hard. You try to figure out, like, you know, being in that space, where you're talking to a mother who just lost their child.
I'm sure it's tough. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Who's lost their child.
Yeah.
Right now, but all this religious rhetoric, I would feel like I would do you an injustice in your recovery if I get you to believe somewhere in your in how I say something that this was the will of God.
Yep. Right.
So now you're not going to truly recover because it's almost like you're saying. So you're telling me that I'm sitting here in all this pain and feeling all this because this God that you're telling me about authorized this moment.
Crazy.
But now I need to lean on him for my healing, the one that got me in this space in the name of, and then let's rationalize that. Well, you know why you feel like this? Because God wants to teach you something. He wants you to grow through this. Like, see now, to me, that's when you start throwing on F-bombs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah, for real, I got you.
Because I feel like you're doing me dirty, then you're adding insult to injury. Like, so you want to use this as a way of making me a better person?
Right. That's tough.
No wonder I can be bitter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that whole theology leads me to a place of bitterness.
And no wonder I can't forgive.
Yes.
Because there's no way I can forgive a God that took my baby. Because as we know with children, like, I give my life for mine. So, because I know my mom, you say it all the time, like, if I could have switched places with you, I would have. And I get it now. But if I think God took my child, and this is deep, but then me personally, I don't forgive you. Right. I'm just telling you how it is. Like, if I'm in that situation, I can't forgive that, so I can't forgive people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I can't forgive nobody who does any. Like, I can say it, but ultimately, like, in the core, the root of things, like, I still have an issue with forgiveness because I can't forgive God because of something that was told to me that was false. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that because when you know you're loved, it's easy to love.
Yeah.
Right? But when I don't believe I'm loved, how can you give something you don't have?
Exactly.
And so that's what I mean with, just to, say it in biblical terms, what you just said about how once I know that I'm loved by God, then I can forgive. I have a spirit of forgiveness and an attitude of forgiveness, and therefore I can walk around and give grace to others.
Yeah.
And so I would say that one of the main teachings. So we'll go about 5 more minutes. So we'll give one of the core teachings I think that is missing in the church or even as humanity. It's dominion.
What you mean?
Let them have dominion over the fish. See, meaning that God gave us free will. And so it's like you can't have one or the other. You can't get free will and then we be robots.
Right. Yeah.
So meaning that God is not in control.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
That part.
So in other words, if I have free will, then where does that control start and stop? And I just think that we need to understand God, yes, he's sovereign, but we need to know where he laid out the property lines. We just got to find out where they are and understand how to cooperate with it. And I just think that we don't know where his property lines start and stop through religion.
Open up a can of worms with this one.
Yeah, right? The dominion factor. That's what I mean. Let them have dominion over the fish. See, basically said God, he said, I rule the heavens. He said, but now I'm creating somebody like myself to where you're going to rule your worlds the way I rule the heavens.
The craziest thing is that was the message I heard this morning listening to Miles. And he pretty much said the same thing. Like, I'm the ruler of the heavens. You the ruler of the earth, though. You know what I'm saying? I gave you the power to speak to things and create. You know what I'm saying? Because you were made in my image. But the cop-out is if it be God's will. The cop-out is Lord willing. You know what I'm saying? So if it's like, it can't be both.
Yeah, so that's why I think that when people can maybe even study out landlords and rental properties, sometimes that can give us a picture of ownership versus rulership.
All right, go there.
Because let's say you own the house, but you rent it out to a tenant. So you just can't walk up in the house and do what you want to do because you lease it out to the owner. I mean, to a rentee.
Right.
So in other words, God says, "I'm the owner, but you're the steward. I lease this world out to you." So what you do within the construct of our contract, if something happens, you can't blame me for something that you're doing within the construct of the contract.
That's crazy. Nah, that's a good one right there.
Right?
Yeah.
And then what happens is, but because we understand the rules, then the owner can come in and rectify things that belong to him, but there still has to be, there's an agreement, there's an understanding, there's a way to do it. It just don't happen. The owner just don't come in and just do stuff just because.
Right.
Because he leased it out, which means, yes, I own it, but I don't have rulership. And I think that we don't understand that, and I think the enemy has violated that truth, and that's why I believe a lot of these doctrines got twisted at these funerals, because now we're basically saying not only does God have dominion of the heavens, he has dominion of the earth realm. That's not true. That's not doctrinally accurate.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so if something happened in the house that you leased out, well, it's the owner's fault. How's it my fault? I wasn't even there.
Right.
You know, God. You know, the owner allowed this, carpet to be torn. You the one that took the knife to the carpet, like say, you ought to blame me for what's happening. Paint on the walls or the walls getting dirt. Like, you can't blame me for stuff that you're doing in the house that I gave you rights to.
And because it's in the contract and you sign the contract, if you violate the rights, I have no other option but to execute the contract.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, as we violate these laws of the words that we have, is we violate, like Red Fox. I don't know who told me. I think it was you. He always talked about, and he's acting. He's acting, but the heart, it doesn't know if you're acting or if you're real. I'm coming. This is the big one,
right?
And he passed away from the heart attack. Even like in music, like these rappers, like Ready to Die. Like these are things that we're putting out there that we singing over and over and over, and it's getting in here. Like these young kids who are crashing out, like I'm talking about in all across the world, but the music that they listen to talking about killing and robbing and doing all this stuff, they may not even start out being that type of kid, but the more I do it, the more I hear it, the more I like see it, the more it gets into my heart, then I really start to become it. You know what I'm saying? And now I can't even help myself.
Right.
Because like the law says, and if I operate with the law has to do what it was set out to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so I'm gonna say this. Well, actually, I'm gonna hit the pause button here because that was like 5 minutes, right? Yeah. So since we're gonna hit the pause button here, so I'm believing that y'all are getting blessed by this conversation that we're having, and hopefully this can clear up some things for you. Maybe Holy Spirit can even give you greater understanding and more clarity on why God is still good and how God doesn't want bad things to happen to us. So I just want to say is we're going to hit the pause button here, and we'll pick this up next week. God bless you. Have a blessed week. We'll see you here next Wednesday.
I got a quote.
What's that?
Be a dog or die trying.
Thank you for joining Pastor Wayne Powell Sr. for this edition of Relationship Wednesday. We hope you enjoyed this episode of After I Did. Let's keep the conversation going by leaving your questions and comments in the chat. We also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you are reminded to join us next Wednesday as Pastor Wayne continues this discussion of After I Did.